M0SDV, who is one of the people that is going to make a second attempt. Last year's attempt unfortunately didn't get off the ground, to set up some stations on Flannan Isles. So good evening to you, Jamie. Good to see you.
Good evening, Nick. Thank you.
And Jamie was introduced. I have never met Jamie before, but I know Nobby, G0VJG, who went with Emil to the Rockall DXpedition a couple of years ago. So we did a lot of work in supporting Nobby and Emil, and we've also had Emil several times come and talk at our online meetings as well, both in Pennine Ham and before that in Denby Dale Radio Club. So it's a pleasure to have you here tonight, Jamie. I'm just going to, because we were having problems with your laptop, I'm just going to put your slides up on the screen one by one. Apologies if they're not quite as nice as we'd like them to be in terms of the quality from what I'm going to do here. So just bear with me a second. Okay, first of all, can I just ask everybody if you can see, Jamie, can you see the slides up on the screen?
No? I can. Yeah.
Oh, hang on, what's happened here? Right, for some reason, it's stopped the. Oh, we're having fun tonight. So, big apologies to everybody who's trying to watch our meeting tonight. Okay, I'm going to make one more attempt at this. We're going to see if we can now share the screen. And I've lost the controls for it. Where on earth have they gone? Okay, are you able to see that, Jamie?
It says you started screen sharing, but there's nothing there yet. If everybody else can see it, I can continue.
It might be because you're watching it on your phone. Can someone else who's not muted just quickly tell me if you can see it on the screen? Keith, you're off.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's on the screen now. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you. You've got an opening screen, yeah?
Yeah, confirmed.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much, Phil. Thank you, Keith. Jamie, it's a pleasure to have you here tonight. And just before you start to talk to us about Flannan Isles, you're definitely the youngest person in the room of our meeting tonight. Just a few words from you about how you got into amateur radio, and then we'll move on to some of the things you've done. So how did your interest in radio start, and what led you down this road?
Well, it's been a while now. I think I've been doing this for just over 10 years now. So I was 13 when I joined, the local club. I don't particularly know why I started out, I'll be honest. I think my dad's a ham. He sort of got us involved, pushed us down that road of, do your license, see how it goes. If you enjoy it, then great. If you don't, then never mind. So I did my foundation license at Whittle Radio Club in South Birmingham, which I passed, got the call sign M6GDI, progressed to 2E0SDV about a year after that. And then a couple of years further down the line, I think then in 2017, I sat my full license getting M0SDV. So yeah, there's no rhyme or reason as to why I got involved in radio, but it kind of stuck and has done now for a while, and for a while yet to come.
Yeah, brilliant. Nice to hear, Jamie. Actually, you're not the only one in the room who got into amateur radio, being the son of a radio ham at the age of 13. I'm exactly the same, and I know we've got a few other members of the club who got into the hobby in that way many years ago too. So pleasure to have you join us, Jamie. You obviously got interested in DXing at some stage. Just talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, so there's some local guys down at Sutton Coldfield Radio Club, which is on the north side of Birmingham, and that's where I did my intermediate license. And there's two guys there that they were always talking about all this stuff that they'd worked on the radio, and this says they're big DX chasers. And I didn't really get the concept to begin with. So what are we chasing? Like why not just make contacts and talk to people? But they kind of explained it that there's 339 entities around the world, and we want to work them all. So they kind of introduced me slowly, helped me build some antennas, taught me about propagation, where to look, told me what DXpeditions were on, where I could find the DX, how to work them, and it just kind of took off from there. Really, the ability to make a QSO, whether it's short or not, with a country where there's only one person sitting in it, is kind of fascinating for me, really. And then the challenge of being able to work these big expeditions that like Bouvet or even Nobby's attempt with Flannan, something completely out of the ordinary, was just kind of interesting to me. So I carried on with it, and here I am. I think I'm up to 301 of 339 entities worked to date, and I've started going on some trips myself to be able to put the other entities on air.
Yeah, I noticed on your QRZ page, Jamie, that you've managed already to work in a number of other countries around the world, and some of them, some ones that were very highly sought, like 3D2Y last year.
Yeah, so I was actually an operator on 3D2Y. So I sat there in Rotuma with the team. I actually managed to work the DXpedition as well, funnily enough. I logged into my station remotely and made a QSO. I was sat in Rotuma operating my shack in the UK remotely, whilst there was a remote operator sat in the US operating the Rotuma shack remotely, and we worked each other.
Yeah, you can do wonderful things, can't you, nowadays with radio and computers?
Absolutely.
Pretty impressive. So you've got the bug for not just for working DX, but being DX yourself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've come through a few different areas of radio. So in the sort of mid part of my radio career, if you like, I've been heavily involved in contesting, and that was around the sort of time where I was still going through college and university, and perhaps didn't have the funds to back me to go on the trips. So I put a lot of focus into contesting for quite a few years, and it's something I still do and enjoy now. But now I'm in a more sort of stable position. I've got a full-time career. I'm actually able to be the DX, which is it's just great fun and a good opportunity to see the world as well.
So far in your DXpeditions, Jamie, have you been operating a CW or single sideband or both?
So I do both. I do CW, SSB, and sometimes I've been known to do some FT8.
Okay, excellent. That's very, very good. Yeah, I spoke to Nobby, who I know is obviously going to make his attempts again this year to Flannan Isles, and he was telling me the other day that he's now up to about 20 words a minute on his CW, which is pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, that's good going. He's putting a lot of work in to get his CW up.
Yeah, he tells me that he's utterly terrified of trying to do it on the DXpedition. He doesn't feel he can cope with a pilot, but not yet anyway.
It's a bit of a learning curve, I guess. When you've got 100 people all calling you on the same frequency, it can be a bit daunting. But I've sort of picked this skill up over a few years and managed to get it. I wouldn't say to a perfect art, because I don't think any CW op on any DXpedition is perfect at it. But I've managed to get it to a pretty good state now, where I can work good pileups at a good rate. So yeah, it's hard work, but if you put the work in, it's very rewarding.
Brilliant. Well done, Jamie. I'm very, very pleased and glad you're enjoying our hobby, and glad that you're working some DX and being DX yourself. So last year we agreed in this club to give support to Nobby with the trip that was an abortive trip, as you know, to Flannan, and we went through the drama of the boat and the repair overnight, and then the weather conditions changing and so on, which made it impossible. So I'll let you talk about and hand the microphone over to you, Jamie. Let you talk about the DXpedition, and we've put up on the screen there for you the opening page. You're going to be running MM0UKI again, which is the call sign that was used for Rockall, of course. You're going to be on IOTA EU118, which is extremely good. So over to you, Jamie, and just tell me when you need the slides changed.
Yeah, I think it'll sound like a COVID briefing, won't it? Next slide and all that. But yeah, let's get on. Right, so we're going back to Flannan. We tried it last year, didn't do so well. I'm obviously going to share with you some of the details of that trip. But Flannan is a very difficult place to get to, and there's a lot of challenges involved with trying to put Flannan on the air. And it's quite clear why it's so high up on the most wanted list, because it is difficult, it is dangerous, and there's so many variables at stake here. So yeah, as we said, the call sign's Mike 0 Uniform Kilo India. I believe that's going to be UK Islands. It's been used a lot over the years. I think Mike Sierra 0 UKI was also used for quite a while, and there's been a lot of QSOs made under that call sign, and obviously Nobby used it on Rockall, which drew a lot of attention. Flannan's not quite as rare as Rockall, but it's still up there. We've also obviously thrown in the Work Tool Britain Square, NA74. I guess not many people have been there since the last radio operation from Flannan was 12, 13 years ago, perhaps. It's been a while since anybody's been there, so it's of significance in numerous ways. And one of the reasons we want to go, it's good on the IOTA rankings, it's good on the Work Tool Britain, and there's also the lighthouse there, which will attract people who collect the lighthouses on the air. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. If you want to go to the next slide, Nick, I'll carry on. So for those that haven't seen this project before, I'll go over Flannan. So the Flannan Isles are 32 kilometres. It's roughly 23 nautical miles west of the Isle of Lewis. It's an uninhabited island, which is known for its difficult terrain, we'll say. The cliffs are quite sheer. It's quite a steep incline, about 200 meters to the top. And there are stairs. There's a jetty that were put in place for the lighthouse keepers a long time ago. But as you can imagine, over the time, the sea has had its way with those. So yeah, it makes it a very difficult place to try and go ashore. So the lighthouse has been there since 1899. There's a big story behind the lighthouse in 1900. 3 lighthouse keepers went to do their stint of manning the lighthouse for whatever period of time that was, and they mysteriously disappeared, disappeared off the island, never to be seen again. So there's a mystery to Flannan Island as to where those lighthouse keepers went, what happened, and so on. And I've done some research into this because I'm quite interested to see if I'm going to disappear when I land on the island, and around the circumstances of that disappearance. And there is no logical reason why these people disappeared. There seems to be no weather fronts, no sort of inclement weather, no waves that wash them away. And the records show that unless there was a very, very localized storm to the Flannan Isles, weather is unlikely to be a factor in the disappearance of these people. So a little bit of history involved with Flannan, and a bit of interest that I sort of picked up when I decided I was going on this trip. I wanted to know if I was disappearing as well. So yeah, I mean, I'll let you read the mystery in your own time and crack on with the DXpedition, but very, very much worth reading into. And also the movie The Vanishing sort of highlights that story quite well. Next slide, Nick. So we did an attempt in August 2024. We had a team of 5 operators, and I think John came to speak to you sort of this time last year to talk about our first attempt. And I say attempt. It was an attempt. We had to give it a good go. The team of 5 operators was John on the left, G4IRN. Then just to the right of John is Michael, GM5AUG. In the background is Paul, G4PVM. Then you have me, M0SDV, and Nobby on the front right, G0VJG. That was our team of 5 operators. We spent quite a lot of time on Zoom and Skype calls and in-person meetings, trying to discuss what exactly we were going to do, what we wanted to achieve, what we wanted to take, and how we were going to execute this project. And ultimately, I think we had a really good team for the project. Everybody's got skills, really top-notch team to do a hostile environment. Next slide. So the first attempt, we all made our ways there. I think Nobby flew to Glasgow and he met up with Michael in Glasgow and they drove up to Ullapool. John had a car full of equipment and he drove up from Shropshire on his own. I also drove with a car full of equipment from around Birmingham. Yeah, well, I'll try not to disappear again. I don't want this to happen when we land on the island. Right. So the team mostly made their own way up to the north of Scotland. I drove myself with a car full of equipment from Birmingham. John, G4IRN, came from Shropshire, also with a car full of equipment. Paul, G4PVM, drove as well, also with a car full of equipment. He dropped his wife at a family member's house on the way there, so he could carry on and she could have a holiday to relax whilst he did something unrelaxing. And Nobby met up with Michael at Glasgow, and they made their way up together. We all convened in Ullapool, which is in the very, very north of Scotland. It's a very long drive. It's about 12 hours from the West Midlands up to Ullapool driving, with a couple of breaks. So we did that in a day. Probably should have split it up a bit, but we got there in one piece. And then from Ullapool, we jumped on a ferry to Stornoway. Stornoway's in the Isle of Lewis, and that's where we would meet and rendezvous with our boat skipper. We had chartered a good boat, a good-sized boat that we've got experience, and we know the skipper as he's taken us to previous expeditions. He's based in Barra, which is much further south, and he would have to sail up to us in Mearvac on the Isle of Lewis, where we would meet up with him, and then he would take us onwards to the Flannans. However, the night we arrived in Stornoway, we received a message from the skipper saying that his boat had broken down, and he was in the process of fixing it. And I think he did a very long, hard night of work trying to fix this problem with his boat, but he came back to us in the morning saying, sorry, it's not working, it's not going my way. So he had to cancel. We spent a bit of time around the breakfast table that morning trying to figure out what exactly we were going to do, how we were going to progress with the expedition, what the goals were now. So I thought, I'm not done yet. I'm not giving up on this. We're here. All we need is a boat. Surely it can't be that hard to find a boat in a harbour. So I left the breakfast table whilst the guys were finishing up, and I took a stroll down to Stornoway Harbour, and I just started asking people, do you own a boat? Can you take us to the Flannans? Or if you can't, do you know anybody that can? And I think maybe on the 4th person that I asked, he said, I haven't got a boat, but my friend Neil has a boat and he goes to the Flannans all the time. Here's his phone number. So we were kind of in luck there. We called the new skipper, spoke to him and told him our plans, and he said, absolutely, yeah, I can take you. That's not a problem. He had a high-speed rib, like one of these inflatable things that the RNLI use, that he said was going to take us out there. So we went to meet him in Meervac, which is on the west side of the Isle of Lewis. And we looked at the boat. We discussed everything that we needed, costings, timings, and so on. And this was about the sort of time there was a big weather front moving in. So we looked at the weather, we looked at the sea, we looked at everything. It wasn't looking very good. But we thought, can we get away with it? Shall we try? And we deliberated on this for several hours about whether we're going to do it or not. In the end, the weather front that was rolling forward was getting much, much worse. So whether or not we landed on Flannan, or if we landed on Flannan, it would have been wet, horrible, cold, and miserable, and there would have been no guarantee that he could safely return us back to the mainland. So he says, yeah, I can put you on today, but I don't think I can take you off when you want to come back. And with that in mind, yes, it would have been great to go to Flannan and put it on the air with his confidence that we could get on the island. But with 3-meter swells and an unconvinced skipper saying that he probably can't take us back off in 2 or 3 days' time, and there's a possibility he can be stuck there for much longer, we thought this is too dangerous at this point. We've got enough provisions to survive for up to 5 days. We've planned to be on the island for 3. We took enough provisions for 5. But the skipper's saying you might be there for 7 to 10 days before I can get you back. So we're out of provisions. It's dangerous. We don't need to put ourselves in such harm's way to activate something that we can postpone a bit longer. So in the interest of safety, we cancelled our mission. If you want to go to the next slide. And there it is. Mission aborted. This meant that all of this driving, all of this sailing, all of this time, effort, and money put into the trip went down the pan. We had to come up with a new strategy. So we considered our plan Bs. What could we do now that we're not going to Flannan? Is there somewhere else we can go? And in the end, we decided that we were going to cut our losses, save the money that we could to reinvest into the next trip, and go from there, really, when there's a suitable time. So we kept the skipper in contact and told him that we'd come back with a new time and a new date and see what we came up with. So we all kind of went our separate ways. We left. And we were fortunate enough that we managed to get on a freight ship back from Stornoway to Ullapool again. There was no passenger vessels going back, but the freight ferry let us on with our cars, and it was quite straightforward to get back to Stornoway. So we were in luck there. So yeah, that's the last trip sort of summarised. So how about this one? You want to go to the next slide? The second attempt, we're having a smaller team this time. That's down to personal availability for the most part, and personal lives getting in the way. And we're going to do it in a couple of weeks' time. I think it's from the 25th of April onwards. And we've got a sort of 10-day window. The operators this time are going to be Nobby, G0VJG, Paul, G4PVM, and myself, M0SDV. And we're going to give it a go. We're going to take 3 stations, same as we planned last time. It means that we're going to have to sit in the chair for longer and operate more radio, but what a shame. We're going to have 3 stations. We're going to have 3, 4 antennas perhaps, and we're going to be on SSB, CW, and FT8. I think last time we weren't going to do FT8. However, given that we have a smaller team now, we thought it'd be prudent to get QSOs in the log, and whilst somebody is sleeping, somebody else can operate a second radio FT8 on the sideline whilst other things are going on. Next slide. So our general plans are quite similar to the first attempt. We've got the same boat skipper with the same high-speed rib that's coming out of Meervac on the Isle of Lewis. He's going to keep a close eye on the sea conditions and the weather windows, and he's able to give us 2 to 3 days notice of a good day, essentially. So he'll give us 2 or 3 days notice as to whether we're going to be able to go or not. and in which case myself, Nobby and Paul are going to hightail it up to the north of Scotland and get on the next available boat to Stornoway and rendezvous with the skipper in Meervac. He's very experienced with going to Flannan and these seas, so we're putting a lot of trust into him. And he's already suggested a couple of weather windows earlier on this month, which we weren't able to make. So he's on top of it. He knows we want to go, and he's really supportive of our mission this time. Next slide. The boat. This is the boat. This is a picture we took from the first attempt. It looks really small in this picture, actually, but it's a bit bigger. It's kind of the sort of size of the RNLI fast ribs. There's one sort of bench down the middle that you straddle. All the kit goes in the back of the boat, and it travels at warp speed. He thinks he can get us on calm seas. He thinks he can get us to 23 miles to Flannan in about 45 minutes. If it's rougher seas, it could be up to an hour and a half. But he says it really depends on the weather and how fast we travel. Next slide. So on the day of our departure, we're going to be in Stornoway already on the day that we depart for Flannan. We'll arrive there the day before within this sort of weather window that the skipper identifies, and we want to sail as early as possible. So first light, a couple of hours after first light, we want to be on the boat, making pace towards Flannan. And that's purely because we only have limited time available. And if the weather were to change halfway through our trip, we need to maximize how much time we're actually on the island for. So we've got to get all of our equipment loaded into the rib and travel to Elaine Moor, which is the main island with the lighthouse. And then we've got to land. That's the more challenging aspect of this. We've got to carry all of our kit to the top of the hill, as I said earlier, a good 200 meters. And anything non-essential, excess water, fuel, stuff like that, we'll stage it well up the cliff out the way of the waves. We'll lash it down and leave it there to save a bit of time and physical effort in walking up the hill with all that kit. Next slide. The challenges. So this is a picture of the landing, or one of the landings at Flannan. Now, it looks quite reasonable from this angle. You can see a jetty and there's some steps with several rest points on the way up. But these pictures were taken about 11 years ago by the last DXpedition that went there. They landed, they had a successful operation, and we're hoping to replicate that. But this is going to be a challenge. If you want to show the next slide, you'll potentially see. This is the steps. So that's, those, believe it or not, those are stairs. If you miss one, it's a slide. But they're very steep. There's lots of them, and they go all the way to the top of the island. This is coming directly from the jetty. So we've got to try and get the boat as close as we can, throw the kit off, throw the operators off, and then we've got to get it up the steps. Next slide. Again, another picture of the steps. You can see that most of the steps there, especially in the upper portion of the picture, have actually eroded away. So there's not much to work with there. We're going to have to improvise with ladders and ropes and see how we get on, I think. We're probably going to get wet, but hopefully nobody actually goes in the drink, but we'll see. It's going to be one of the most challenging parts of Flannan is actually getting on. Obviously, due to these conditions, these steps and the erosion of the steps and the concrete over the years. Next slide. Our packing list has been significantly reduced from the first attempt. There were 5 of us going for the first attempt, and now there's only 3. So we're able to reduce the amount of food and water we need to take, which is a huge weight when you remove over 50 litres of water we would be taking for 2 extra people. So that's a huge weight gone. We've also acquired these blue barrels. You can see the picture. These are food grade storage barrels. They're completely watertight, and they float, which is going to be really helpful if we end up falling in the drink. This is going to keep the radio kit safe. And we've got 3 stations, so we're limiting it to 3 barrels. We're going to put 1 station in each barrel, and then that's going to be pulled up onto the jetty, by rope once an operator's on the top. And then we'll have 3 rucksacks with our personal kit in. Our camping stuff, our tents, our food, all the bits and pieces you can fit in a rucksack that we need to survive a few days on Flannan. And obviously plus fuel water generators. Next slide. The equipment this time, we're going to be using, the first radio is going to be an ICOM 7300. That's one that I own. And this is not based on anything scientific. This is just what we have available and what we've sort of picked up and says, I can bring this and you can bring that. So I'm bringing an IC 7300. Nobby's going to be bringing a Yaesu FT897 and Paul's got a Flex 6600. To go with each radio, we're going to have a laptop each. We're going to use DXlog for logging, which is a good contest logging software, but it also has a DXpedition feature, which just allows us to link the PC to the radio, log away. It has CW macros, so it can send automatically, and so on. And then for FT8, we're going to use M0SDV in the DXpedition mode. So this will be mostly automatic. And the key part at the bottom, to save weight, we're not taking amplifiers. Amplifiers are heavy, they're unnecessary weight, and we just don't want to carry them up the hill. So this is going to be a low power 100 watt DXpedition. Next slide. We're going to be operating on 40 through to 10 meters, potentially 6 meters. I've just had a WhatsApp from Nobby about an hour ago saying he's picked up a small 6 meter antenna. So we might be on 6 if we get the opportunity. We've got 2 DX Commander verticals, which are all bands from 40 to 10 meters. We have one, I'll call it a miscellaneous multiband vertical because we're not sure what it is yet, but we've got a couple of ideas being kicked around. And then we've got a SOTA Beams band hopper dipole, which will be on a 10 meter pole, which will act as a reserve antenna. That does, what does it do? It does 20, 30 and 40 meters. So we have some pretty key bands available to us if one of the others should fail. This will hopefully allow us enough gain, whatever we need to get signals out. The verticals will give us some low angle to get to some of those far-flung DX places, and then everywhere else will sort of fall in the cracks, and we'll pick them up with these antennas. Very simple, very lightweight, very efficient. So we don't want to take any big Yagis or hex beams or anything like that, as it takes too long to set up. It's too heavy, and we're really looking for a lightweight, quick, easy up, easy down kind of station. So this is the sort of the best choices that we've come up with to make that happen. Next slide. To supplement our radios and our antennas and everything else and help us survive, we've got a 1 kilowatt generator. It's a Honda EU 10i. This is Nobby's generator, which he's taken on a few of these island expeditions now. It's plenty enough to run 3 stations at 100 watts each. We're not taking the amplifiers, so we don't need a great deal of power available to us. So we're going to take at least one of these. We might take a backup. We'll have to see how that goes. And then aside from that, we've got food, water, fuel. You've got to calculate a lot of things for this type of trip because we have to survive for a few days on this island with nothing but what we take. So we need at least 5 litres of water per day, per person. So if we're there for 3 days, we need 15 litres. And then if we want some contingency days, we need to take 25 litres of water each. Food, we want to pack 3 meals a day. So we're looking at MREs that have somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 calories per pack. That gives us 3 meals a day plus snacks, coffee, other drinks. And then we're going to be working on some fuel calculations to see how the generator copes. And then aside from that, we've got camping gear, we've got tents and sleeping bags and so on. I think, is there another slide after this? Mission success. Are we going to get it this time? We really hope so. And it's clubs like yours that are really helping us to get that extra mile, get that publicity and all that extra support that we need to be able to make this happen. It's a really difficult venture to try and take on. And we've already failed once due to the weather, and the weather's going to be our biggest enemy here. But we really hope that with the extra preparation, the lightweight approach, and the diligence that our boat skipper is taking with the weather, we should be able to have mission success here and put some QSOs in the log.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jamie, for that tale of last year and hopefully this year. So I'm going to take the slides down and we'll open it up to questions that I'm sure people have got for you. So let me just close down the screen. Okay, yeah, Jamie, thank you very much. Who's got the first question that they would like or comment to put to Jamie? Everyone's gone quiet now. I've got a question to a few people. Last year we agreed we would provide communications behind the scenes to Jamie and his crewmates on Flannan, separate from the radios that they're going to be communicating using MM0UKI, and we're going to do that again this year. So we had set up a few people to be available from different parts of the UK, from north to south, that could come up as a group at the same time, and whoever's got the strongest station into Flannan is just there to pass on information backwards and forwards between those of them on the island and those off the island. So I've got a question to my members here. I know we've already had one apology from one person who's definitely unable to help this year. If you were on the list for last year, let me know whether you're going to be available potentially at 1 or 2 days notice later this month to help out for a few mornings, providing comms behind the scenes to MM0UKI. And if you weren't part of the group last year, but you think you would be free and able to do it, can you just drop me an email or come up on the chat tonight or come up on the screen and just say I could be available potentially to help provide communications. The way we were going to do it is run a club Zoom meeting for those people involved, and we'd have everyone sitting in their home QTHs on their radios, listening out for Jamie or Nobby, whoever it is, who's going to make the call to us, and take any information from them and pass any information back from them that we've got to give from the skipper or from other people involved in this. So if we've got anyone else who wasn't available last year but potentially would be available this year, just let me know and we'll add you to the list potentially to be involved with this. So that's just my request to people in the room here. So anyone got any questions to Jamie about the DXpedition? Yes, Mike, GM1YQH. You have to unmute, Mike.
Oh, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Not so much a question, just a request. I was on the list last year. I'm happy to provide comms from the Highlands. I'm in Aberdeen. I won't hear you from here, but the way I'm situated, but I'm happy to move up to the edge of the Highlands on a high point. However, I will need to know as soon as you know that you're going and the time, because I have to rent a cottage or something quickly and get into it. And of course, it's right just by Easter, and with the NC 500 and the tourist season's already started, that could be quite dodgy for me. So I'm very happy to get involved. I'm very happy to provide the emergency comms as we discussed last year. My problem is, can I get somewhere reasonably priced, which I'm happy to pay for, obviously, but is there availability? And I have looked around and things are going fast. So that's the first request. The second one is I offered to help fund towards the cost of the boat to the island. That still stands. So Nick, if you can send me an email, which is my call sign at hotmail.com, and provide me with the details for how I make the payment to whoever I need to make, be backs or whatever, if you do that sooner than later, or whenever you need the money, then I can get on and do that. But from my perspective, I really need to know as soon as you know that you're going, that I'm looking and moving up. And I will be successful, hopefully, in finding somewhere, but it's just a bit of a worry for me because of the timing around the Easter period and the start of the tourist season. So thank you.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much, Mike. And I did pass on the fact to Nobby on Monday that you were going to be helping out again, hopefully this year, and also your very generous donation you want to make to them as well. So Nobby was delighted, and he's going to send me the information that you've just asked me. So I'll get that sent on to you, Mike. And Nobby said as soon as he knows, we will know. He'll be on the phone to me to let me know, and I'll pass it on to the group, which obviously includes you, Mike, to provide that support behind the scenes. And Phil, G4UDU, thank you very much, down on the south coast there. That could be very useful. We don't know what conditions are going to be like on 40 metres, so having a bit more distance may well be beneficial to making that contact. Jamie, do you want to come in at all on what Mike's contributed there?
Yeah, absolutely. We really appreciate the support and the commitment there. There's quite a big commitment that you're offering to support this trip. So, yeah, just thank you on behalf of the team. Firstly, we're going to get a good, well, I say a good. We're going to get 2 or 3 days notice of this happening. We might get a bit more. We are hopeful we're going to get a bit more. The boat skipper's in close contact with Nobby, even now on a daily basis, sort of discussing the weather and the sea conditions. So we're aiming to be heading out to the Flannans around the 26th. So we travel up to Stornoway on the 25th and then out to Flannan on the 26th of April. Obviously, we've got a really big window available to us should we have to delay for whatever reason. So that's mostly the reason for that, is so we have contingencies. But we would be hopeful to start the trip when we want to start the trip. But yeah, the skipper's going to give us some pretty good notice to allow us to get as far north as we need to get. And yeah, as soon as we've got the word, we'll spread it out to the group.
Lovely, thank you very much, Jamie. Anyone else got a question or comment to make? Just wave at me. Yeah, Roger.
Yes, thanks, Jamie. That's it's really interesting. I do wish you all the luck and calm seas. As we all know, that first every plan has to change with first contact with the enemy. I wonder what contingency you're making for carrying tools and spares and, you know, extra bits of coax or a soldering iron. I wonder, you know, it's heavy, but I wonder is that all part of your plan as well?
Yeah, so we've had a recent team meeting last weekend to sort of have this discussion as to what we need to take, and we've managed to get some stuff off the list, more importantly, but we've also added some other stuff back on. So we've shedded weight in some areas, added it in another. So we've not lost any weight in terms of the equipment that we're carrying, but we have added a reasonable toolkit. That it's not extensive. We're taking a backup antenna. So if antennas start malfunctioning or high SWR or stuff like that, we're probably not going to mess around fixing it as much as we are just going to deploy the backup, because we're only there for a short amount of time. So we haven't got that much ability to be playing with antennas as much as we'd like to fix the problem. Acknowledging that, we are taking a toolkit. We need to be able to fix stuff when it breaks. Not only the antennas and the radios, we need to be able to fix the generator, because that's our lifeline. You know, that's going to provide us with electricity and warmth and emergency, you know, sort of supply of power there. So we're taking enough spares of sort of oil, spark plugs, spanners, bits and pieces, so we can do very basic, very minor repairs. But the bigger stuff is kind of throw it back in the box and get the spare out kind of thing.
Yeah, understand. Yeah, well, as I say, I wish you all the luck, and I look forward to seeing the results in due course. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, just yeah. Go on. Who's going?
Yeah, can I
Robin,
just
yeah,
say,
go ahead, Robin. Yeah.
yeah, I would have been able to provide support. I have a good antenna system here. I have no problem getting to the Western Isles, but I'm afraid I'll be in Ireland visiting my daughter. So I'm sorry I won't be able to provide any backup that way. I would have loved to, but it's just so happens I'm away. So, but I wish you all the best. I know the Western Isles. I know a bit about the seas too there. So yeah, all the best, and hopefully for calm sea for you getting there and calm sea for you getting off.
Thank you. Fingers crossed.
We have a saying in the Western Isles: if you don't like the weather, just stick around for 30 minutes; it'll change.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, thanks very much, Robin, and all understood. And yeah, Jamie and I think the other two guys are going to have a handful. When you look at that, it's not quite Rockall where they had to do the actual rock climb led by Emil to get to the top of that nasty piece of rock there. But those steps look very dangerous indeed, trying to carry those great big containers up, Jamie. So, you know, it's the critical thing is taking your time over that. I suspect that taking all that gear up, all that distance from the bottom to the top in itself is going to take quite a few hours. And then you've then got to obviously, you know, get something to eat, and you've also got to assemble it and get it all going. So there's going to be quite a long delay, isn't there, Jamie, from the time that you actually, you know, make a safe landing, hopefully, on the island to getting a station up and running.
Yeah, I would expect there is going to be some kind of delay there. We've got some sort of set priorities, and priority number one has to be with survival and being safe. So we're going to have to set up some basic shelter first, which will increase that delay. However, setting up a basic shelter can be done by one operator whilst the other two are setting up radios. So, you know, it's a bit of a trade-off there. We have to be able to make sure we're safe and that we're able to live on the island, but also get us on air as quick as possible. And that's a good thing with this FT8 stuff, is that we can have one operator running multiple stations at the same time. That frees up two operators to help build camp. And then obviously once we're all set up and we're ready, then we can all sit down, operate a radio, and start putting some real QSOs in the log.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. Yes, Howard.
A quick question for Jamie. Are you considering taking marine VHF handhelds with you?
Yes, Nobby's actually just bought one. He had some that were donated to him by Yesu for the Rockall attempt, but unfortunately, after everything that happened with that trip, they're at the bottom of the ocean now. So he's just acquired another couple of marine VHF radios. We've also notified the Coast Guard on Stornoway that we're going to be going, so they'll be aware to listen for us if we need help. Obviously, there's a lot of maritime traffic in that area, so we shouldn't be alone for too long if we do need help.
That's good. I spent too many years with the Coast Guard and lifeboats, so that's yeah, one of my priorities for that as well. Good on you. I'm also available, probably, I live just inland from Banff on the northeast coast, with a fairly good signal out that way. So if you want to put me on your comms list, I'm probably available most of the time you're there.
Brilliant.
That's great.
Thank you, Howard. I've made a note to add you to the list as well, so thank you. That'd be very helpful. I think that the more we have potentially on a comms list, the more certain we can be that we can make that single sideband communication through to Jamie and the other two guys on the island there, and be that backup that they require. But also, of course, what we can do between us is help advertise on the various social media platforms and on DX Watch and so on for where they're going to be and where they're prioritising next, hopefully. as we were able to do last time. With the guys on Rockall, for example, I was able to liaise to enable the Japanese and the Pacific West Coast to make some contacts at the best available time for the guys on the island. And I think all those that wanted to make contacts did actually do so on that occasion. So we're going to do our best behind the scenes to provide that kind of help to Jamie and the others. Right, anyone else got a question or comment to make?
Yeah, count me in, Nick. I should be available
Brilliant.
to help. Okay, I'm on the list anyway.
Yeah, you are indeed, Phil. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, Phil. Okay, I guess the next thing then for club members is finding they've arrived and finding out they've set up a station, and then it's each man and woman for themselves in terms of trying to get that contact with the three guys on there to get them in the log.
We'll keep our fingers crossed, and we'll try and get on the air this time. So yeah, thank you all for the support. It's really appreciated, and it's what keeps us safe is having the network of guys out there to be able to communicate with us when we've got no other method of comms. So it's really appreciated, and we'll keep our fingers crossed for a successful trip this time.
Lovely, thank you very much, Jamie. And on behalf of our club here and radio amateurs elsewhere are going to be watching this video, I've got no doubt, in the next few days. I think everyone is going to wish you well for a safe journey by the boat out there, a safe ascent of the island, getting the equipment set up and getting going, and of course, most importantly, that you're able to get off after a few days of operating there and not going to be stuck there. So good luck to you, Jamie, and it's you're going to require it, I think, given the unpredictability, which I think is what Howard was commenting on there, the very, very fast changes that can take place in weather conditions.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'll definitely come back on here once we've got a result from this trip and keep you updated. So
I was just going to say, when you think about the old lighthouse keepers, they used to do a month on and a month off.
Yeah.
But sometimes it was 3 months on and a week off. So look out for the weather.
I don't think Jamie wants to hear that 3-month point, Howard.
Also, watch out for the birds.
yes, yeah, yeah, I can't even speak anymore. Yeah, we've spoken to some of the locals about the birds and how best to avoid them. So we're aware of them. We're going to keep our distance and let them do their thing whilst we do ours.
Yeah. Take your dad's army warden helmets with you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Jamie, good luck to you. 73s to you from everyone here in Pennine Ham and from all those that follow our video channels. We wish you the very best of luck, and hope you do get there this year and manage to activate the island. It will be fantastic, and I'm quite sure you'll have a great deal of fun, Jamie.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for having me on here tonight.